In this video, we will explore culturally responsive pedagogy as a means of bringing relevance and engagement to the curriculum. The goal of culturally responsive pedagogy is to eliminate or mitigate barriers to student success based on discriminatory practices, discriminatory systems, or biases that relate to student identity or culture. Through this pedagogy, the educator strives to eliminate achievement gaps associated with demographic or socioeconomic status. A program is considered successful at achieving the goal of culturally responsive pedagogy when the education outcome of a student is no longer statistically tied to demographic or socioeconomic factors such as ethnicity, gender, income, etc. In short, culturally responsive pedagogy demands that the educational system be a key mechanism by which inequities in our society can be eliminated. Meeting this demand is not easy, but there are four key components that frame the overall strategies of culturally responsive pedagogy. The first is fostering excellence in all students. Students must be expected to develop the skills associated with academic, social, and general life success. This requires that high expectations of students be maintained and that programs ensure that students are provided with the supports they require to meet these expectations. Culturally responsive pedagogy also requires that students be culturally competent. This means that students must have the knowledge and skills to work collaboratively and synergistically with a diverse community. They must understand how to align their intentions with their impacts of their actions on others. When their impact is out of line with their intentions, they need to know how to effectively respond to their errors in a way that mitigates the negative impacts. Critical cultural consciousness is a central strategy in culturally responsive pedagogy. This strategy requires students to understand how history, politics, and a variety of societal factors shape individuals' experiences, opportunities, and perspectives. Critical cultural consciousness is central for developing learners that can analyze complex social, political, and environmental challenges, and it enables them to develop and implement feasible, effective, and sustainable solutions to these challenges. Finally, culturally responsive pedagogy creates classrooms that embrace diverse student identities, but they also create a sense of belonging for all students. Classrooms that are based around culturally responsive pedagogy do not define students by simplistic labels, but allow students to develop complex, multifaceted identities based on their personal sense of self. Students define themselves and are allowed to deepen their self-awareness and also to evolve their identities over time through their personal experiences. These classrooms create environments in which autonomy is valued, but community is kept strong. Student belonging is created through a sense of community acceptance of who they are and not by pressuring them to conform to societal stereotypes. Culturally responsive pedagogy can be challenging and often takes several years to develop. Many educators oversimplify the pedagogy and make some common mistakes. It is therefore important to avoid three common misconceptions about culturally responsive pedagogy. Firstly, culturally responsive pedagogy is not about cultural celebration. While it is true that culturally responsive pedagogy promotes an understanding of diverse cultures, it is important to understand that culture is more than celebrations. It is about the history, stories, practices, and perspectives of people, and it is about our interconnections to other cultural groups. Culturally responsive pedagogy cannot be served by token representations. We must avoid having culture addressed without connection or meaning to our curriculum. We must embed this practice on a continuing basis with meaning and importance to our curriculum. Finally, we must avoid simplistic identity labels. People within cultural groups show more diversity than commonality. Humans are complex beings with multiple identities. We must avoid stereotyping even when talking about commonly shared practices and experiences. To illustrate how one can use culturally responsive pedagogy, we will look at a sample lesson from a grade 11 biology class that focused on island biogeography theory. In this lesson, student works in groups to analyze graphical data on the impact of various factors on island biodiversity. Then they applied their understanding by brainstorming ideas for choosing an uninhabited island for creating a nature reserve. After discussing this question, they were asked to reflect on the advantages of using an uninhabited island for this objective. Following this application question, students watched a video on ecofascism and explored Canada's national park history. Finally, students had a full class discussion on the concept of mitigation, reconciliation, and reparation strategies as they pertain to the issue of land appropriation in Canada's national park history. Links to my file associated with this task are in the video description below. Feel free to download and use them. This lesson was designed using material from our Changing Planets YouTube channel. To all the folks responsible for this channel, thank you for your amazing work. If you are an educator, please consider subscribing to this channel. My hope is that my videos are useful to you and help me to consolidate and reflect on my practice. And if you're an educator, good luck on your journey. We are all in this together.